we did 9 predictions about AI by 2025. 9 out of 9, 100% are accurate.
I'll still stand by my prediction that bubble burst.
That's a bold prediction. I like your prediction because it's like ballsy. Data scientists are now just going to be called AI engineers because AI engineer sounds better, sounds cooler, has higher salary and comp. This is my evil conspiracy theory stuff. NVIDIA, all the frontier providers are all holding themselves up. They don't want the token cost to drop.
Apparently, we made a lot of predictions throughout 2025. This is the final episode for this particular season of AI Security Podcast, and we're putting this under the lens. We are trying to figure out how much of the predictions we made throughout the episodes on 2025 season 3 actually came through, and what our predictions are for 2026 for AI. There may be a few bombshells, just letting you know. But hopefully, you agree with them, or you probably have your own predictions. Would love to hear that in the comment section below. If you are someone who is watching this on Spotify or YouTube, definitely let us know in the comments if you have your own predictions as well. Let me know if you agree with my bold prediction for 2026 and if that would come to fruition. If you know someone who is interested in predictions for 2026 of AI security, what that would look like and what would go forward and what have the changes been across 2025 that actually came true, definitely share this episode with them. And if you are here for a second or third time and have been enjoying the episodes of AI Security Podcast, I would really appreciate if you could take a quick second to hit that follow, subscribe button, whichever platform you're listening or watching this on. We are on Apple, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube. Your support means a lot, and thank you so much for supporting as always on conferences that we go to as well. So looking forward to hearing a lot more about what you think about this particular episode and what your predictions are for the next year coming. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, welcome to another episode of AI Security Podcast. Today is the final episode for season 3. I'm a bit sad because AGI is not here yet, but hey, we'll figure out what else have we not gotten to. But maybe to set the stage, man, I was going to start off by saying we should probably talk about some of the top of mind things for us today in December 2025 for where AI is. And where do you stand on AI today? I guess obviously, I'm sure your opinion about AI and the practical use case of AI has evolved as we have spoken for the past 3 years. Where does it stand for you today?
Like, that's an interesting...
It's not a fad, right?
Yeah. What do you, like, I mean, there's a lot of ways we can go with that, but let's just maybe start with today. What is the state of it and what do I feel? Has it gotten to a point of utility that we had hoped we would see maybe a year ago? Is that a...
Yeah. That's a fair thing. Yeah. I think I like the example. Maybe we just take it from a utility, but also how much is production today, if you like.
Yeah. So from a utility perspective, I think from a consumer version and from an individual version, I think AI has made pretty great strides. Like when you look at where we were a year ago and our prediction for some of the things that it could do today, obviously hype was and is always way overblown. But I do think that it has done a lot. Now, what I think used to take all of these WYSIWYG, sort of if this, then that, Zapier, connect, plug, do all of this. Today, almost every service offers a couple sentences, and it will by and large get it done. And it will work. I think that almost any sort of expert you can think of, health, medical, fitness, fashion, engineer, software, management, whatever you think of, you can get access to. And for most intents and purposes, 90% of the time it's right. Like it is pretty good. Like you can have an expert on call anytime, anywhere. And I just think that, from a consumer individual perspective, coding has gotten way better in actually, I'll give you an example. Since AI started, maybe like 2.5 years ago, I created this very simple 8-line different sprints on how to create a more and more advanced web crawler, right?
Okay.
It starts off with just a simple web crawler. It says, okay, now do it multi-threaded. Okay, now do it distributed. Okay, now use browsers and be able to do it. Okay, now use AI filtering on it. It just got more and more advanced. And I remember, 2.5 years ago, I take this exact same thing and it took me almost an entire week and I barely got past step 4 before it just didn't work. And then over periods of models, it finally got, I was able to complete all of them, but it took 4 days to do it. And then it completed all of them and then it took 2 days. And then the next one, and it took a day. And then now when I do it, it literally takes 15 minutes. And I used to do it step by step, just do one sprint next to this. Now I just take the whole thing and I dump it and it just does it.
Wow.
And so like that advancement over the couple years of this exact same sort of PRD prompt that I created, and I always use the exact same thing, you can see the progression. Like it's really amazing.
Yeah, because I was going to say, for me personally, from a consumer side, obviously the AI is, I think when we first started talking about it, the consumer utility was the top of mind thing. People knew that there's a potential here for how it could be used in enterprise. From a utility perspective, I think initially the way I was just totally lost in the whole prompt engineering conversation to a large extent. Now that has become second nature. Even if you have giving it half-baked sentences, it still kind of understands a bit of it. Obviously, it requires precise instructions, but at least you get to a point where I'm actually starting doing this experiment where every time I'm coming to the US on a flight, which is an 8-hour flight, I run a experiment on some kind of an AI agent. Like the first one that I ran was I wanted to update my website and I was not finding time to do that. And finally, in the 8-hour flight with British Airways internet, I just plugged in. Before I landed, my site was already live. And I think that to me was like not something I could have ever done in my entire life before AI. And it was just basically one of those things where it'll give instructions by, I think I was using Vercel and something else. It just gives me instructions. Hey, this is where it needs to change, whatever, blah, blah. And I think the other thing that I also want to call out is on the utility side, now it's no longer, there was a hype in between where the Apple hardware design person, Steve, he kind of had come out and said, hey, the way AI is supposed to be consumed, we are not consuming it that way. We are basically still limiting ourselves. And even though I'm sure there's a certain way to use AI, I definitely find that today my default for most things is definitely using AI. For example, travel, going somewhere. Obviously, it's not the best, but in certain scenarios, but it's the default number one now, which is super weird to think that I used to go on Google first and do all these things, but now my default is, I'm just going to ask a question, even if it's for news and stuff. Has your any other behavior changed for you from a utility perspective?
I mean, I'm exactly the same. I think, I use AI way more than I used even Google, I think, in the past. Right? Because I'm using it for all these different avenues of my life. And utility wise, I have agents running in the background constantly doing things for me. I have code that I'm running with. I have advisors that I've built that I'm constantly communicating with. I have just the general work stuff that I'm editing posts and documents and reviewing. Like there's just a lot, right? There's a lot that is going on here. Like, it's really interesting that I think AI for sure, for us at least as being more cutting edge people, we are adopting quite easily. And so, like it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I guess funny enough, because initial thinking for a lot of people was it's going to take away jobs. It's going to be something that would not augment. But today it's a lot more clearer, at least as far as I can see. It has definitely augmented a lot more. Now I have quote unquote AI workflows for certain things that I run where I don't want to explain the same thing again. There's workflows for it. There's Claude skills for it. There's Gemini gems for it. There's so many ways you can automate AI workflows if you wanted to. And finally, we can stop talking about the difference between automation and AI workflows. I remember the first season, we would just explain to people, hey, this is agentic. Yeah, this is not agentic. Come such a long way away from that as well. But I think one thing that has still remained overwhelming, which was there in the beginning overwhelming, at least I would think was still overwhelming, was how would we use this in enterprise applications and what would be the use case for security? And I think that obviously I have opinion, but I'm keen to know from you, like either from a utility perspective or from the integration of AI for how much it would be used by businesses.
Last year, we actually predicted that in 2025 that there will not be mature AI production systems beyond very, very narrow areas or specific things. And I believe so far that has been pretty much confirmed. It's validated. It's still pretty early. Reliability, scalability, and what we've also learned, cost has been big barriers.
Oh my God, yes.
In AI. These are really big barriers.
Actually, we should just quickly unpack that as well, because for people who may have missed that episode, I don't think cost is spoken about enough. We obviously, I understand we are AI security podcast, but just to get these things into production, right? Quote unquote production, not like the lovable MVP that people have been sharing across the globe and going, hey, I'm putting things in production and just falling back. Can we just unpack those three for people? Just the cost aspect and what are some of the challenges for why even at the end of 2025, our prediction is still true?
Yeah, like, what we actually talked about previously is our assumption was cost was going to go down, right? Because at that time, AI costs kept dropping. Cost per token was boom, 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 boom. And everybody was basically sort of at that time saying, hey, it's a race to the bottom, right? Where, okay, everyone is going to lower their cost per token, blah, 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 which sort of like I have evil sort of conspiracy theory of this.
Let's hear those conspiracy theories as well, man.
but what has actually occurred is, yes, token per cost has definitely gone down, right? However, it hit a somewhat floor. And not only that, but clawed its way back up into cost barriers and lines being drawn. No more max, you pay $300 a month, you can use whatever you want. That has all been killed.
Yep, there's a bar for it,
Yeah, that's right. And actually, people who are building production systems are finding the cost to run AI stuff is astronomical. I mean, it is really expensive to be able to build this. I was talking with a portfolio company who was basically like, hey, we've built this AI red teaming offensive product and we are deployed in a lot of productions. And like our bottom floor for a decent sized enterprise, our cost alone in AI is $1 million annually.
I can believe that.
Just for a standard enterprise AI offense. And I'm like, how do you charge an AI red teaming product back to the customer at over your cost? Like you're coming to Robinhood or whatever company it is and saying, hey, we do have this AI red teaming, but it's our floor is $1 million. So like we're going to sell you at a $3.5 million or $4.5 million deal. And so like this is like the cost is starting to become a real challenge.
I think one of the reasons I've moved away from Cloud Code is that as well, because to what you said, I think their max plan earlier allowed for unlimited usage. And after that, to be fair, to give people some context as well, it's not that the first attempt of you using AI gives you the perfect answer. So a lot of the tokens are wasted in just debugging. And it kind of adds to like, once you get to the point, I'll just use the example of that portfolio company we're referring to. Red teaming probably means continuous real-time interaction with this said system. You're spending tokens consistently, like on a quote unquote real-time basis. No wonder the cost is so high because you're just burning tokens at that point in time.
And don't forget about context. Tool calling, info and metadata constantly going with every call. Like it's it's basically like you have 1 meg of memory and 80% of it is already taken every single call by the same crap. And then like it's bad.
Yeah, but do you feel like, I think specifically talking about the quote unquote security side of things as well, in terms of maturity of the conversation for production ready, at least there is and this is kind of going on the same prediction we had. I think I'm just reading up the notes here. 2025 will not yet have mature AI production systems beyond the narrow areas, and AI reliability would still be evolving and deployment would remain narrow. I think that prediction is on the money there. But I wonder also, if you were to put a security lens on it, is the other one, which is the SOC automation, which was the wave in the beginning of 2025, which we called out as a prediction as well, that SOC automation will be the most tangible real-world AI impact across the board for how AI would be used for security.
Which, by the way, this is a good transition into our predictions. Right. Yeah. So we should just go directly into our predictions. We obviously created a set of predictions that said about AI by 2025. And we did 9 predictions, and
throughout 2025.
9 out of 9. 100% are accurate. So the first one, which was sort of, will we have mature AI production systems? Unless it's narrow areas, probably not. I think that's fairly accurate so far. Number 2, you said SOC automation. So SOC automation will be the most tangible real world AI impact.
Yep.
I think that is true.
Yeah, that is still true. I think there are 53 vendors in this particular space now. Since the time of at least the conversation became a hot topic, there are 55 or 53 companies that are solving AI SOC. There are also the flip as well.
It's
There are a lot of
mainstream.
people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I said it's mainstream for sure.
100% is mainstream. And I think the other side to the build versus buy conversation for this as well, a lot of people have started understanding the fact that, oh, it's not something that I can build myself. And people do try. And I'm talking to people who are quite advanced in building engineering capabilities in their organization. They've done a lot of security engineering, but even they come to a point and go, okay, at what point do I call it I'm building an AI product versus just automation? Because previously, a lot of that just meant I'm just automating things. I'm just automating to what you said earlier, if then statement. If I see this thing, that means it's a threat, trigger a detection, have a response, all of that. But a lot of people are finding that it's not as simple as I'm just going to feed my cloud logs into AI and it will do the prediction for me. And goes back to your example earlier, the cost of running that itself would be just humongous. Why would you take that on yourself and just give it to someone else? Although I'm curious, I know we made the prediction just about SOC automation. Is there any other field in cybersecurity that you feel has had a real world AI impact in terms of automation or AI adoption from cybersecurity perspective?
We did make a prediction around that, which was around cyber offense.
Cyber offense, okay.
Yeah. And so we said in 2025, we should see that pick up rapidly, that there'll be a lot of AI scanning tools, other types of things, because it's low-hanging fruit that can be easily AI'd. And what is the hottest thing right now? It is AI red teaming and scanning.
Yep. So the next one is AI red teaming. Although, and since the time we predicted this, or at least had this conversation, there's been I guess someone has gotten up the rank on HackerOne as well, all the way to number one, just using AI automation or AI-driven red teaming testing. The reason I brought that up also is I also feel there are sparks of AI automation across GRC as well, across cloud security as well, because there's all these acquisitions that have happened as well since the time we spoke. So obviously 100% top of the ladder for adoption is SOC automation, which was a prediction. That is still true. The second one is the AI red teaming, which we kind of covered an episode on as well. It's still pretty hot. I feel like there are little tiny sparks of GRC engineering, cloud security engineering, or cloud security that are also getting quote unquote traction, but obviously not at the same level as SOC automation as well. The other one that I think you predicted was the browser security.
Yeah, well, I predicted that the next big move for AI is to get in the browser because it makes total sense that is where you spend all your time and you can get all this context. I predicted that, this was way before, but now what is the hot thing is every AI foundational company is either buying browsers or building their own browsers because they are all about getting into browsers of context. So yes, that is another prediction.
Actually, because even that is, I think, something to add to that. I'd love to hear your thought on this as well. It's also integrating into the OSs as well, right? The Windows update that they did, they want to integrate Copilot into your operating system. Apple is obviously done the similar thing as well. They're trying to integrate AI into your phones. Gemini is native as well. And whatever Sam Altman comes out with, Steve from ex-Apple, that would be so it's also embedding into our devices as well natively. But then I don't know if you're at that point where since the time you made the prediction that the adoption of AI browsers is all-time high. I haven't really seen any stats on this, but I definitely don't see a lot of people raving about it either. Have you seen anyone being do you use it?
AI browsers?
Yeah, AI browsers.
Yeah, I don't think so yet. And to me, I feel it's because I hear a lot of people that are doing AI browsers per se, but I think that it's very hard for you to switch browsers, right? That is like asking to switch operating systems, no matter what benefit. So the people who have switched into AI browsers specifically are super early adopters, super techie, already, at the edges. They're like you and I, right? In terms of their AI usage. And the only reason why I haven't switched to an AI browser is because of security concerns. The biggest problem with AI browsers is prompt injection becomes the biggest threat ever. Because the browser has access to everything and prompt injection is completely, it is a problem that is unsolved. And so it is very bad in AI browser world for that. That's the only reason why I haven't switched to AI browsers. And so I think there's a combination of both. I think AI browsers quite haven't shown right now everyone's still getting used to the go here and do all your stuff with AI versus use what you're using and AI will do it with you. That is a whole second stage that needs to occur. And then you need to then say, well, I'm going to switch in order to get that. I also think a lot of people who are like us, because we're, again, early adopters, we have very specific models that we use for specific things. I use Gemini for this. I use ChatGPT for this. I use,
that's true.
Like this is all. And right now, the problem with these browsers, they don't allow you to pick the specific things at which you want for your specific models. And I think, again, we're early adopters, we're techie, we're geeky. This is very much an early adopter nerd problem space. And it just hasn't gotten, AI needs to get more mainframe. Like if we go, and my guess, Ashish, is like if we go to Iowa and we talk to the average person in Iowa about their usage of AI, it's going to be like, what? It's going to be very little. Like, okay, well, I use it like I use Google, right? They are where we were 2 years ago, right? And so I think we've got to see that shift occur before I think really these true adopt, and prompt injection has to be solved. Like,
and I guess maybe just to double click on that prompt injection for a second there. And we have the top 10 list. Now we have top 10 for everything. Top 10 for MCP, top 10 for agentic AI, top 10 for, the list goes on from an AI specific perspective. I don't know if we actually called it out as a prediction, but I'm pretty sure over time, I think it was one of the conversations we had with Jason Clinton from Anthropic, and all the other guys were there in that panel that we did for State of AI Security. Or actually the one that we did recently, which is the Black Hat conversation we had with Jason Haydix and Daniel Miesler, where we were talking about the different threats and which ones are real and which ones are just like, I guess but I don't know how often that happens. Prompt injection was still number one in that list. Data poisoning and everything else that's been listed in top 10 was kind of like, how often is that really happening? Am I really in your environment? Like, I still feel maybe this is something that is top of mind for people today and would continue to be. The prompt injection still seems to be the most reasonable, at least today as we record this, from an AI system security perspective. Everything else is like kind of, but I would probably put them in like a low medium versus prompt injection is like right up there if they're high risk, right?
Yeah, I think a prompt injection is, again, an unsolved problem that continues to be a unsolved problem. So and the real issue is when it comes to browsers and the ability for any text to then take control, it's very, very hard to trust anything you browse and then be able to say, oh, okay, this will work, right? My browser, if I browse a random website and it has access to my Gmail, like, we're screwed. That solution has to be figured out really well. And I don't know, like, when that happens, then, I think I will adopt and switch. But until then, I'm not.
I think the other one, which I think funny enough, it came out yesterday or day before. I don't know if you saw it. I think it's called IDE exposure or IDE release. Essentially, it's a bug it's a remote code execution bug on IDEs used by browsers. So I can't remember the exact name of it, but essentially, it's not just browsers, but it's also your IDEs these days are susceptible, because if you're using AI for coding, then you're definitely in that category as well. Another thing is data security, which is one of the predictions that we had as well, where that two data-related predictions we had. One was data security will be the biggest winner, and data platform will become the enterprise AI operating system. I don't know, it feels like that data security is still very top of mind for a lot of people. People are still trying to have 100% data classification coverage across the organization, which may not have been the case before, but people are definitely serious about it, especially after, and I don't know if you knew this, but I recently came across, so I'm doing this, I guess the AI Security Summit here in the UK, for Black Hat Europe. One of the conversations about EU AI Act, which I did not know is a thing, is that any European company that is using AI has to give a annual transparency, I guess, algorithm transparency information or something. I can't remember the exact legal name for it, but the whole idea is that you need to be able to show the reasoning that was done behind decision. What was the data lineage, if you want to use that word. And that is something that people who are trying to follow EU AI Act have to come across. I don't know. And the hope is it's going to travel through America as well in terms of finding some way of version of it. Although we haven't had anything after the AI action plan, or Trump released something, right? Which was
Yeah. Well, I mean, in our current administration, obviously we're not going to see any new policies, regulations, or compliance stuff come around here, because all those have been ripped apart.
Oh, even the one for AI has no longer active?
Oh, I'm not sure if that is
okay,
out or not, but it's just to say we're not very pro policy, security, and safety.
talking about policy and safety as well, in terms of the legal frameworks or cybersecurity frameworks that we have loved, they have also evolved quite a bit. And I think we obviously we never made a prediction on it, but we did have a prediction around AI governance, privacy, and national AI ecosystem will continue to be more geo-locked.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the overall set of that was every country, this is a race, and everyone will start to close down their data because data is money. And we predicted that we would see that occur. And that is true. That has definitely happened. Like, obviously, I think Europe has always been very pro privacy, pro their data, their citizen data. But, that has absolutely amplified. And you're seeing that everywhere. China, US, everyone is locking down for sure.
Yeah. Do you find that, at least obviously we're talking about predictions that we made on this, do you actually see this change out of curiosity, considering, we're trying to find a balance between innovation and being able to win the AI race. Have you got some thoughts on whether this is a good thing, just geo-locking?
Obviously, it depends on how you look at it. From who benefits from geo-locking and who doesn't, is right. So it depends on which view you're coming from. Like, I don't really, I really don't have an opinion, right? Like, as a consumer, you're going to lose in the sense that the capabilities of a model will be less than, because you have less data, right? As a consumer, from a privacy perspective, you might win in the sense that, well, okay, making some assumption that your personal data may not be in the model anyways, but hey, I like to ensure that, okay, at least Europe controls its data, is not going to go share it to the US. These kinds of things, might be a great thing for you. But listen, at the end of the day, one thing we've learned is that the more data AI has access to, the better it is. So any restriction on that data is going to be negative in the capability of the model. And, we still have that even in the US, like, at least to some extent. I don't know I'm sure some reader can tell me that what the answer is here, but like, Gemini is going to be dumber if it does not have access to all of our personal Gmail data. If it does have access to all of our personal Gmail data, it will be way smarter. Like, it's just a given. So I don't know how to answer that, right? Does privacy and safety hurt us or not? I will say I have my thing on safety. I think we are way overprotective on models. I think, for example, I can't use Gemini and Nano Banana to upload a photo of me and my family and modify it because it has my daughter or my kids in it who are underage, and it refuses to mess around with any photos or video of kids. It just won't do it.
Wow.
And it's just there's just a lot of, do you remember way back, I don't know how many seasons ago, I was complaining that AI wouldn't even generate an image of a bullet for me.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, that was first season. Yeah, we were talking about the first season.
And that has not gotten any better.
No.
In fact, Grok used to be the model that you could go and have some freedom, and that has gotten even more locked down than even the foundational models today. It's really frustrating to me that somehow model companies have decided that they need to make the decision as to what is safe, or you need to be my mom and my dad to tell me what I can or cannot do with your model. And that is problematic, which I believe OpenAI, this should go into our next prediction.
Go for it. Yeah.
Predictions for 2026.
Yeah.
Is that OpenAI and others, which we are saying, are going to start doing, you've seen this spread of age authorization, right? Which is, you need to prove you are of a certain age, right? Like, if you are 13 and below, 18 and below, 21 and above, there are now age restrictions. UK is obviously is all about, you can't go and access things without having an age.
Yeah.
That obviously is going to pair directly to identity, which is going to go directly paired where, hey, maybe, and I hope this is true, that these foundational models will then say, okay, you're over 21. I have your identity. I know where you are. I will then open up the models. OpenAI has talked about having an adult content model, right? This is the kind of stuff that, okay, finally, let's have some reasonableness and some logic in what is safety. And actually, for all the model providers, like an OpenAI's fee, this is going to make them a ton of money.
Right? Yeah, I would imagine so as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to your point, I think my opinion on this is kind of, for lack of a better word, maybe you're more, and maybe this is because I'm part of the European bandwagon, I guess. I definitely like the safety option also because you almost see how far humans can go when there are no, for lack of a better word, no barriers is probably not the right word. No guardrails, maybe if you use security context, I guess. Just because obviously I come across a lot of the specific cases around bullying and all that as well, which kind of happens quite often. And I think growing up, I obviously never have that, but I definitely find that imagine something like a nano banana being misused for any of that. I can totally imagine, because let's be honest, school kids are probably very creative in how far they can go in terms of pulling a joke on someone. So I don't know if I would not want that. I definitely feel, I personally feel, and again, that's my personal opinion, to have age restriction is a good thing. Maybe it goes back to what the episode we had on identity, proving who you are and you're a human. That was the WorldCoin, I want to say.
It's WorldCoin.
Yeah, so I definitely feel we're almost inching towards that kind of a future as well. And over here in the UK now, no matter to what you said, even if you're a business or an individual, we are all required to have an identity login with the government as well, with the passports and everything else that's coming in there. It was already the case in Australia already for some time. I don't know if it's in the case in the US, but it definitely is a case here in Europe and UK and Australia, where now governments have started asking for identity that's linked to some sort of ID, which there was a physical person who had approved it. Like, for example, a passport or driving license. So you had to go into a physical office and share basically, hey, yes, I'm Ashish and blah, blah, whatever my credentials are.
Well, I mean, the point being is AI will be the forcing function to get us to identity and to reset the way that at least the US's identity infrastructure is built. And this brings up a lot of great examples, which is, hey, kids should not go and generate bullying photos or whatever they want to generate there and then spread it around, right? Of course not. They shouldn't be able to do that. They shouldn't also do the same, even before AI, they could easily go use Photoshop and go do the same thing. But the barrier to entry was too high.
Yeah.
But now, like, what would happen is, you can't use AI without being authorized. So an identity is now linked to everything you do in AI. And then that then creates accountability. That accountability is going to be linked. When they generate, that image will be linked to that identity. That image is now associated. So if they go and they pass this out, then it's going to be clear, oh, that was Bobby who did that. Yeah. You're in trouble, right? Like, that is going to come. It just makes it will happen.
Yeah, I think that I guess I know we're kind of getting into 2026 prediction, but one thing which is left in the 2025, actually two things that are left in the 2025 predictions we made. One was the whole agentic AI will be overhyped with very few real deployments. I think one season I'm pretty sure we had to define agentic AI multiple times, and agentic AI kind of took off. Now every pipeline, every person you speak to, they're all making agentic pipelines. No one's really making an AI pipeline anymore, even though I'm pretty sure it's just an AI pipeline. But hey, I'm not the best. I'm not the best judge of it. Maybe because they have MCPs, A2As. There's so much has kind of happened from a protocol perspective. That was, at least I would like to think we were still right there. That it is still not the true agentic AI that we have been talking about, and a lot of people who clearly have worked in this space have been talking about. The AI workflow, which has been quote unquote made agentic for everyone, is kind of like, that's kind of where we are. The number of people who are using MCPs and A2A are still far fewer. There's still a lot more people who are running AI workflows with, say, a question going to an LLM, getting a response back, whether it's an API, CLI, whatever the format may be. But having MCPs, because there is still a big question mark on the security part of MCP, in spite of the updates that came from them. And there's still a lot of unknown in terms of sandboxing. How are we sandboxing, say, 10,000 MCP servers running inside an organization, the scale of it. But keen to know from you as well, what are your current thoughts on, I know we kind of called it overhyped. It is still overhyped?
I mean, I would say no. Well, I mean, obviously the problem was with hype is just everyone's calling everything an agent, right? Just going back to everything was calling everything AI. Now everything has been called an agent.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, we defined what an agent was, which was something that could only accomplish something normally a human would have to do prior to AI.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's the agent part. I think that MCP, as an example, internal to companies, I think is everywhere. Like every engineer, everyone is plugging their crap into MCP. Everyone's doing their glue code with MCP. I mean, you're seeing it everywhere. In fact, someone had showed me a stat. I don't know where the stat came from, but it was MCP internal to enterprises is like super high. MCP in consumers is low, right?
Yep.
And I think what's happening is people are building production systems in the sense that for consumers, like if you go to something like tasklet.ai, right?
Yep.
That's for consumers. It's sort of the AI Zapier. They absolutely use MCP for all of these integrations that you go and provide. And that is being used everywhere. So I don't think it's overhyped in the sense that, hey, do we think agent stuff and their capability and what they're saying it can do is overhyped during the actual usage and what it really can do? I do think it's pretty mapped. And in fact, a lot of people, again, let's, going into next predictions, but it's not about the model's intelligence anymore. What it's about how you use the model and the workflows around the model. So did you see that thing, it's like Poetic, I think, just announced? Did you read that?
Yes.
Right. And so about this, I'll tell the audience, like, it's not about then improving the model. It's about building the workflow management around the models and being able to say, hey, when I tell Gemini to do something, I'll use OpenAI to validate. I'll use this model to then pass information to that model. I'll then manage it over here to call this tool versus that tool. It's all of the orchestration of doing this really well and understanding the flows is where you're eking out. And that is agentic, right? That's agent. That is eking out sort of real intelligence out of these things. And so I think that's where you see that next wave.
Interesting. I still feel my reasoning for feeling it's still overhyped is the fact that the number of applications, let's just use the word, agentic AI in production is not where it is, but the amount of services that want to help you build agentic, secure agentic, I mean, even sneeze and marry agentic as well, if you want to use that word. I definitely find there's a lot more people who are talking about it and a lot less people taking it to production. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. I think for me, the hype is more from the fact that it's not 100%. I think we kind of spoke about the scaffolding is more important. We were talking about the DARPA competition that happened, and there was this whole debate about whether it's the right AI or the scaffolding around AI that's going to win. And I think the answer was the scaffolding around the answer was the opposite. The answer was the people who won were the people who were using only AI. The scaffolding people came second, which is the trial of which we spoke to. And
well, we don't know. I don't, like, from what I remember, the reason why he said that they came in second versus first was actually they were being too filtering on their identification of issues versus the team that didn't filter. They just said, we're just going to do everything, and then the remediation patching will figure out what's valid or not. That was sort of the...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, that definitely was. But my understanding of the part that they worked on for the 1 year that they were given, they were building the scaffolding around it. They had to redo the entire thing again because it broke or whatever. But I think you kind of summed it right as well. I guess where I'm going with this is that having those conversations with people made me lean more on the fact that it's 100% on the scaffolding or the workflow, as you said, is what the secret sauce would be for moving forward. But at least today, where I see and where I feel agentic AI is still hyped is that I was talking to someone recently and they were talking about that, we use AI, but a lot of people still define them being agentic as them using Copilot and ChatGPT in their office for a skill set or gem. It's still very much on, like, I think the number of people who are using MCP in production or building actual flows are your tech forward companies who probably don't have a regulation that they need to adhere to, and rightly so, right? They're able to go faster because the people who have to have the regulation, to what you said about prompt injection, that's still a big unsolved problem. Now, me as a bank cannot have a chatbot available to the internet where I can ask it any questions that I want, which creep into the territory of, I don't know, asking health questions and getting a response and going, hey, my bank of whatever just gave me some health advice I followed and it was not right. I think those guardrails are still not perfect. And at least that's my justification of it. And I think I definitely find that we're far from calling it like mainstream. Like mainstream in my mind is more like, oh, I have Copilot, which is mainstream now. I think it's almost like some kind of a Copilot, whatever the version may be.
Yep. I would agree with that. Yes.
Which leads me to our next prediction for CISOs, who are tossing between, actually, this is an interesting one. So the prediction was CISOs should not hire AI agent engineers yet. And because the whole, obviously, this was confirmed. I'll let you say your thoughts on this, if your stand on this has evolved since the last time we spoke about this prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I actually am still probably sticking with that prediction, which is no one has hired AI engineers in that sense. That is the dream moving forward, is that, quote unquote, I can obtain the budget of AI engineers by building an AI engineer. There's a lot of people going after that. I do believe it will happen, though. Like, for example, I have a portfolio company that when they started building their product, I was like, oh, we need to make it, it's for detection engineering. We need to make it like a co-pilot for detection engineering. Maybe it can replace the junior detection engineer, right? Similar to what you saw in SOC, like, oh. And then after seeing what they've built and how they've been working with customers, this thing is staff principal level detection engineer.
Right.
Like, it is absolutely doing the entire job of a very smart principal detection engineer. And so it replacing and or you quote unquote hiring that versus the others, I think is very close, and if not pragmatically reasonable in the future.
Interesting. I think my reasoning on this still stands as well, but maybe for different reasons. One is, I think I love the fact that you called out budget, because I was at AWS reInvent last week, I think, and I had a few conversations which surprised me, which was some of the CISO budget for AI is actually going to the CDO, the Chief Data Officer. So they're saying that they are responsible for data. And if AI security is predominantly a data security problem, this should be under my budget or my remit. So a lot of CISOs have started losing their AI budgets. The ones who are signing AI products or security products at the moment, a lot of them are potentially from, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but essentially they're trying to tick a box in the organization for they're doing something. And I think it's probably oversimplifying it or putting a blanket statement on it. But there's definitely a lot of need for proper budget conversation for people. I'm sure people would go into this in 2026 about where that budget should sit, whether it should be sitting with the CDO or should it sit with the CISO. That was an interesting conversation for me as to whether who should own it. And I'm technically thinking that, wait, because we talk about security for AI and ultimately security responsibility is for the CISO, should be there. But hey, maybe I'm biased because we are on a security podcast. If this was the data security podcast, it may be a different. The second thing on the AI engineering piece for me was interesting is that a lot of people who are trying to replace an AI engineer, at the end of the day, in my mind, an AI engineer, not at least the current stage of it, would be a data engineer who's trying to help a security. At least that's the stage that I believe we are in. We are not in a stage where because I don't have a data pipeline to actually concretely bring all the information in. Maybe I have a SIEM, but I don't have a data pipeline where I can start piping that into a LLM and start doing predictions or whatever else I would like to do for my security team. That's where I'm finding a lot of people are finding that they're not hiring for AI engineers, because the AI engineer currently is sitting with the data people who are trying to show ROI to the organization for why we're investing so much money in AI. That's a lot of conversation I'm having.
Yeah, so to maybe tackle both of these.
Yeah,
I think technically what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but I feel practically speaking, what happens inside of an organization is everyone just becomes AI engineers. Guys who are data engineers are going to be retitled AI engineers. Data scientists are now just going to be called AI engineers.
That's right. Yep.
They're just all, because AI engineer sounds better, sounds cooler, has higher salary and comp.
Yeah.
So I I think data engineers and data scientists are just going to be thrown into an AI engineering bucket.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Yep.
And that's pragmatically what will probably end up happening, or if not already happening. And then it goes to your budget question. Your budget question, maybe it's different with AI, but I don't see how it would be versus anything else in the org. Every company has a different culture, how they approach budget for cyber.
Yep.
Like you can say, let's just take without AI, let's just take engineering versus security.
Yep.
Okay, if you take that model where it says, well, engineering owns the security budget because they build all of the shit you need to protect. So they should own the security budget, which in some organizations is true, right? You have a product security team that sits in the engineering team, and then you have a risk team or an audit team that may sit outside of that team, that has their own budget, that does their own things, and that can occur. In a lot of organizations, there's just a CISO that has both the product and the risk organization, and they're given the budget to go and do those things. So similarly, I think in AI or data, that it's the same thing, right? Like if you buy a DSPM product, that is built for security people, right? Like the security team is going to buy DSPM. The data team probably isn't going to, but maybe. And the CDO may say, and depending on the organization, data security, DSPM, anything revolving around that, they're going to have their own security team that will budget that. And then there'll be a risk audit team external to that to make that work. All, again, every organization does it in various different depending on culture and process. Overall, I feel there are always pros and cons to either of these models.
Oh, yeah. 100% with you. And I think the other thing that I would add to this, 100% based on the organization culture for sure, and depending on where the organization want to go. Because another kind of organization are the ones who have built the AI Governance Council, where all these calls are being made by the council, not even by individuals. They're the ones who are deciding where the budget would go, what the policy would be, what AI would be used. So there's definitely that kind of organization as well that we probably can look into. But I think at least it gives the people a variety of different options, and maybe some people relate with, some people are going, oh yeah, that maybe is what my organization is like. I'm conscious. We should also talk about our predictions for 2026. I think we've kind of gone through all 9 of our predictions that were made for 2025.
For 2026, authentication, authorization is going to be super, super key moving into next year. I think we're going to see self-trained, self-fine-tuned models come out. That'll be super interesting.
What do you mean by that? Just to kind of expand.
So actually, a long time ago when I did this, I remember I did that B-sides presentation about where AI is going to go.
Yeah.
And I made this prediction in there that, hey, models need to learn like humans.
Yeah.
And right now, the way that it works is you build a model and then you take data and you fine tune it.
Yep.
And these are very separate instances.
That's right.
Why should they be separate? They should just be one continuous thing where you produce a model, it will learn, it will fine tune itself and then evolve on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And that next year, I think will be a reality. We are already seeing that. Hugging Face just announced that on Hugging Face now, they've created a MCP-able automation that you can take a model and fine tune that model all automatically. So you can just literally prompt it and it will fine tune itself. So the ability to auto collect the data, do the thing, fine tune itself, push to production, and then make this a very seamless thing, I think will be by 2026 a normal standard thing, which would be really interesting.
Do you reckon the AI bubble would burst in 2026?
I mean, it feels like it's pretty close to bursting right now.
I mean, we're December now, so I guess I don't imagine it happen next month, but I mean, I guess one thing
I do think 2026, we should probably see a bursting of the AI bubble. It's going to be bad. The problem is like, I don't know if the government or other players will allow the bursting of the AI bubble.
Oh,
it's built such an amount of, this is my evil conspiracy theory stuff again, but like there's so much capital in this. It's a too big to fail problem, right? Where I think there's so much money that it's going to be very difficult. Like, I don't know if they'll allow it. I think they will just continue to pump capital to keep it there because at the end of the day, the cost and the amount of productivity you're getting out of AI, I definitely don't think matches these multi-trillion-dollar businesses and companies who are making 20 million in revenue but getting $800 billion valuation, just like crazy shit. I don't think that can last for long.
Maybe that's the bubble that bursts in terms of the crazy valuations rather than, again, for me personally, I definitely feel, and maybe you agree on this as well, that even if the bubble did burst, AI is not going to go away. So hopefully we continue to have AI security conversations after that as well.
For sure.
Yeah. So I don't think AI is going to go away. Kind of like I think maybe you called this out at the .com boom, or someone else was calling it out, where even though .com boom did happen, but the internet has continued and evolved into what it is today. But some companies would completely disappear. I'm looking at OpenAI, but it'll be really interesting if it does.
Whoa. Let's back up here for a minute. I got to make sure did you just make a prediction that OpenAI is going to disappear?
I definitely feel it would. And I'll give you the reason for this as well. The reason I say that and I feel that is more from a perspective of, I think, and this is me making a financial analysis. I'm not even a financial expert. Looking at what Google Gemini is doing in terms of they have if you look at what was that circular thing that floated around between NVIDIA, OpenAI, and then
this is the evil conspiracy part. It's like NVIDIA, all the frontier providers, right, are all holding themselves up because they don't want the token cost to drop. They want to keep that high so that they continue to benefit from this. I agree.
I think that's but then Google, on the other hand, has their own processes that they've been working on, that they've released and they've been using. So I definitely feel the Amazons, the Google, they have the advantage here in terms of already having the capability to continue the race, for lack of a better word. Whereas people who are relying on other people to provide them chip, I think the thing that I was looking at...
You're saying that Google and Amazon already have the business. They're just catching up on the AI versus AI is trying to figure out a business.
That's right. Yeah, I would say that's a better way to put it. Yeah, I think with the people who created the AI space, and I don't know if you read this, but I think there was a speculation going on. Anthropic is trying to go public as well. They're trying to hit IPO. Yeah. You almost go like, what are you running IPO on? Are we just like...
But the thing is like people are going to invest a ton of money because like they're going to go public. Everyone's going to invest.
Yeah. The hype would be there, but that doesn't mean the public company cannot be... it maybe get bought by someone else, but I think because I didn't think of Anthropic in that list for some reason, because I definitely feel... that it definitely gives me better, because they were not in that the friend circle of NVIDIA chip manufacturing foundation model was. But I definitely feel for me personally, I'm like, it's definitely very much used everywhere. It has opened the door for what could be a possibility, but it definitely has all the signs for me personally, looking from the outside, as like, I don't know if this company would exist as it does exist today with all the hype around it. Because if you think about the number of experiments they've run, they tried consulting, they tried, that didn't work. Then they went down the path of, hey, to what you were saying, they have specialized model for special things. That's just experiments trying to figure out, hey, what other revenue source can we add to continue to survive and continue to show we are more than just a chatbot. Whereas Google has all these other things, Amazon has all these other things. Microsoft is like, hey, I don't really care. Use whoever you want. I'm just going to let you create anything. Like the foundation pieces of these foundation models, they're not disappearing. They're just, to your point, catching up. I think that's where my I guess conspiracy theory is coming from. I definitely don't think there is a lot of runway for them unless they come up with a chip. Somehow they become like this data center provider, because they don't even have their own data centers.
I mean, they're in the middle of that right now. But you know what I would say is, man, that's a bold prediction. Like I can't. Here's the thing that I would maybe counter. You are right in this deep. There's this deep sense of there is a bubble that's holding these guys up, right? We know this.
Yeah.
But the thing that we're waiting on is there has to be proof that that they are overpriced. Mm-hmm. And so then that proof comes in what ways? You could say China produces, like one of the things China's very much into is it's not about the size of the model that matters as much in order to get to this next barrier of intelligence, right? Yeah. They are very much saying, actually, it's not about 80 billion, 100 billion, parameter model. It is about your refinement and able to run things cheaply. And
like
so
efficiency too, like a better word. Yeah. Efficiency is the right, the right kind of parameter.
That's right. So DeepSeek is pushing these barriers. And so like when they come out and be able to say, clearly you can build just as smart models, way, way cheaper cost, way, way cheaper inference. And here's how you do that, either through them producing the right model, producing different chips that can now do it at far more efficacy than NVIDIA's can, or whatever it is, which I don't know if it's even possible. But like whatever that is, these things have to come in as barriers to say, oh my God, there's an outlet that has proven that what these guys are all stating is false.
Yeah.
And so what we have to, like, what is that thing that comes out and says, oh, what these guys are, OpenAI and Anthropic and NVIDIA are all false, is going to be the big thing that we need to be able to see.
To be fair, I mean, it's not just the Chinese model, right? Because the Mistral, which is the French version as well.
Yes. But didn't Google buy half of that or something? I forgot.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't read that news. But I think I guess it kind of goes to show that it doesn't have to be just an American company doing it. I know every movie is like American superhero, but I think it's like, it definitely has proven to what you said, proven the point that there are other ways to achieve the same result is kind of where I'm going.
And by the way, Ashish, just to that, DeepMind is European. It's London.
Oh, I mean, DeepMind is European, yeah, but
So Google's actually is European. It's
the reason, I guess, because the Waymo thing happened in Oxford as well. So there's a lot of European things in there.
DeepMind is created out of London.
So well, there you go. So it's the European people who are kind of maybe leading the charge over here. But I guess you had another point. You had another point in there that you wanted to add. So I didn't want to cut you off after the fact that China has proven.
The thing that OpenAI has that nobody else has is, I would say maybe two things. Number one, they have the mind share, the brand. Everyone says ChatGPT. Everyone knows about OpenAI. Like on a consumer level, they are Kleenex, right? Like they are Coca-Cola. They're
Uber.
Brand.
They're Uber.
Well. They're the brand. Period. Yeah. Right. There's nothing else that could even come close to that brand. Nothing. Like Claude doesn't. Google doesn't. Like nobody can come to that brand. And the second thing that they do quite well that none of their other competitors do is they actually can build a decent consumer product. Like ChatGPT as an app is decent. It works well. It actually has the right features. It has good feel, and I like it. Versus Anthropic, not so great. And Google, terrible, right? Terrible. And so these are two very, very key facts that are hard to beat. Is OpenAI is AI for most of the consumer world
today.
And they build a product. They are actually good at building consumer decent experience products. And so will Google win to the consumer? I don't think so. Look at how their integration of Gemini is with their Office suite. It's terrible. Like everything they do in user consumer experience is bad.
Yeah.
So is Anthropic going to win the enterprise? Is Google going to win the enterprise? Very plausible. But on the consumer, I don't see anyone competing with OpenAI.
I'll give you the consumer side. I definitely find that, how earlier we were talking about, we are probably using different kinds of AI for different purposes. You put Perplexity for something else, you use Anthropic for something else, and Codex or whatever. I definitely find for, let's just say, my consumer problems, I definitely lean more on ChatGPT. So I agree on that. Also, whether it's I'm talking to it or I'm using it, I think I've told my family to use it. If my 70-year-old dad can use it, it's almost like saying, okay, how good is the UI that someone who's in their 70s can actually work with it and talk to it and do all of that.
Yeah.
So 100% on the consumer side. I think where I'm coming from is, obviously, I need to ask Perplexity, what's an example of a company that was the as popular as Uber but never survived? But I don't know the example at the top of my mind, but I definitely find that, actually, I don't know, would not be AOL. I was trying to think of any companies from the internet boom that were like all the hype back then, but then just come I don't know. Netscape Navigator was the browser. I can't think of anyone who was just there like that. They started the race because Google and stuff came much later. I'm sure
in the search engine game, you've got like Alta Vista, Lycos, Yahoo.
Yahoo was a big one.
Google came around and just ate their lunch.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
I wonder if that's kind of where I'm going with it, because just because OpenAI has opened the door for it, and kind of like yourself and what we're talking about here, I'm sure other people noticing the UI part of this is the key, and maybe that is the one thing that makes them stand. But at this point in time, if I'll still stand by my prediction, and I think if maybe they get survived, I don't know. Maybe when we do this episode again in 2026 December, yeah, I would be like, I cannot believe such and such thing happened, or I could be completely right.
I mean, this is the fun part about the predictions, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like your prediction because it's like ballsy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, it's funny. I think to your point, it definitely is very, very palpable is where I'm coming from. I think
yeah. And the thing is like everyone knows there's some truth in that, right? There's a little bit of like, man, this can't keep going. Right.
Yeah.
Like this is not like what you're doing is not enough. Right.
It's not sustainable. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. And the thing about it is if anyone did sort of what we were saying around actually dropping token price or proving that better models is not about more compute power, that whole Ponzi scheme collapses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I guess to your point, at the moment, the ecosystem of all the AI applications that we see, they are all built on top of ChatGPT or similar. Because I think to your point, that it's that whole entire ecosystem who's trying to work on this, but they also are planning for the fact, what if I have to use Gemini for it? I mean, I'll love for people who are reading or watching this to leave a comment on what their prediction for this as well. But I think we already made two strong ones. Any more predictions before we wrap up, man? Before we spoke about AI bubble. I definitely feel
I'll do my predictions through other episodes. I've got more. But yeah.
Oh, perfect. I think the only other thing I'll call out, in which we kind of said was unlikely, which was the production use cases for AI. I definitely find we should be able, and my hope is there is still a knowledge. If I were to put it at a scale in terms of knowledge of AI and how to secure AI, that is still on a scale. People who are probably listening to this episode or listening to Cloud Security Podcast AI Security Podcast or keeping up to date on the AI space, they're probably on the very right of, they know what to talk about and how AI is evolving and all of that. But there's still plenty of people who are not touching at all any of the basics of AI or going into the nitty-gritty of, hey, if my data team or engineering team is building something in AI, what do I need to do? Because there is still no training per se for this. There's no great evals for this. So I definitely find that is one place that I strongly believe would change in 2026. There would definitely be more applications coming out in production, because the amount of pressure that these people have on their diet reports, I would be surprised if there's not many more applications, agentic applications, to use the word, that would be in production in 2026. I definitely feel we're very close to getting something there.
Yep, I agree with that. I mean, you have to. And I also think that it's so close. Like when I look at the companies and I'm looking at, it's very close. It's at that 90% and that 10%.
Yeah. You can almost touch it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so close. There's so much capability. So yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And I definitely feel we're not getting away from prompt injection even in 2026. There is no way. I think the intent base, maybe we reduce the false positive, but it would be continuing into 2026. I think with that said, I think I've got 4 predictions already. And to what Caleb said, we probably would keep making more predictions throughout the 2026 season. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I think that would be a wrap for season 3, and we'll see you in season 4. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for watching or listening to that episode of AI Security Podcast. This was brought to you by techriot.io. If you want to hear or watch more episodes of AI Security, check that out on aisecuritypodcast.com. And in case you're interested in learning more about cloud security, you should check out a sister podcast called Cloud Security Podcast, which is available on cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.